So we disconnected this whole thing. That's kind of sad. We need to have that connected to login, and I want to have it that when we click the button here, that button triggers this workflow rather than it triggering it from inside the form. So we can leave it here, but it's kind of good practice to think, okay, I'm going to have the login flow here, and then I'm going to have a sign up flow below it. Is that good? Maybe not. So I should do some logic components. So let's do a logic component. I'm going to store all this logic in a component. Log user in. We automatically get component inputs and outputs when we've selected that, but we could have manually put component inputs and outputs in there. Like I said earlier, if it's got a group, it's a visual component. If not, it's logic. And then in that case, you would be putting inputs and outputs yourself just by picking them from the node picker. So let's take these out and put them in there. And okay. So what are we going to need for this? We need the login to have a username and password. So let's say that the inputs are going to be email, because the email is the username in my case, and password. Seems weird having the password pass through strings, but you don't see this, you don't see the node graph when it's deployed, so it's not dangerous having the password passing through strings in the deployed version. So we connect up username, email the username, and password to password. And then we can connect the do signal, which is a default in component inputs, but again, you could add your own input signals. It doesn't have to be the default one. We connect that to the do signal of the login. So when we call this function, it's going to go do, and it's going to execute based on the username and password that we entered there, and then navigate to the page that we want it to go to. So that's great. Now we're going to put log user in here, and we're going to say when we click on the button, where's the button there? The button is going to log user in, but is it going to log the user in every time? No, it's going to log the user in only when we're on the login page, right? So this is where the expression comes in handy. So state, current state equals login. So expressions just take simple, what will come in the parentheses of a JavaScript expression, just calculations, but it's really handy for evaluating true falses. So we're going to say the state connects to the state, and so the state is login. That will evaluate as true. So when we click the button, which is going to be called the sign up login button, it's going to be one or the other, depending on the state. It's going to first, when we click it, evaluate that expression. So we'll do that every time you click it. And if the current state is login, then it's on true, it is login. It's going to go and do the login workflow. Right. And if not, we're just going to duplicate this and make the sign user, using small letter, sign user up. So we're going to delete this stuff. I'll keep the toasts. I'll keep the toasts because I'm being lazy. Now the sign user up has a bit more detail. The sign user up doesn't just have email password, it has confirm password. It has, no, we don't need to confirm password. We're going to do an evaluation in the sign up flow, in the sign up component, to see if the password is definitely the same, and then release the password after that, something like that. So I'll not put it here just yet, but we do need to have the first name of the user and the last name of the user. I'm going to connect that, of course, to a sign up node. And of course, we don't have first name and last name because I haven't added them into my database yet. So let's go and do that. So I'm going to make a first name column. I'm not going to make it required. I find this to be, like, if you really need it, then do it. if you wanted to make sure like nobody's allowed to enter something without it, that's maybe a good way to do it. But I don't. Even if I think it's going to be required, and then if it's not required in one exceptional case, you're stuck. So just leave it not required if you don't need it. First name, last name, all good. So sign up, and there we are, first name, last name. So connector up, email goes to email, email also goes to username because it's the same. Password goes to password, first name goes to first name, and last name goes to last name. And then the do signal goes to do. And if it succeeds, we're going to call our toast, and if it fails, we're going to call our failure toast. So sorry, something went wrong. Please try again. So this is not a ideal thing because in sign up we should be telling the user like the password is not valid or the email is not correct or something like that, but we're not doing that right now because it's a little bit too late in the evening for those kind of things. So sign up successful, redirecting to dashboard, sounds good. And then it navigates to the dashboard, so that's all great. We don't need any component outputs. We just need that input. Nice. Okay, that's good. We can put now our sign up component, logic component next to our login component and say when the current state is not login, when it's false that it's login, then we're going to do sign up. I'll put them on top of each other, be a bit nicer. Nice. Okay, that's going good, except the stuff that we have inside our login form is kind of not connected at all to our component here. So we have different choices of what we can do. We can create component outputs here and have email and password go to outputs. And then there'll be two outputs here, email, password, that goes into the login form. So that could be just like two noodles connecting there. And then this sign up form would have outputs, email, password, first name, last name. So there'd be four noodles connecting in here. So we'll do that for login form just as an example. Show your work. So email, output, password, output. So the email text is the email output, and the password text is the password output. And then here the login form has email output, which goes to the email input, password output, which goes to the password input, right? So that's nice, but it could look a little bit messy. So this, I would say, is not going to be the way we'll do it today. We're going to do it in a way that I think is really worth showing because it's a really, really handy way of doing things. We're going to use something called a component object, right? Component object. Because it's just one node, it's a little bit tidier. Component object, and we can actually piggyback off the fact that there's email and password in both the sign up and login form and just make that one output here at the top level. So a component object is a storage device, an object in JavaScript that sits at this level. The component object sits at this level, and it'll be fed stuff. Either it'll be fed stuff directly, or it'll be fed stuff by child components that have a parent component object node that will basically get fed information and look for wherever the nearest up its hierarchy component object is and add that information to that component object. So it's a way of sort of invisibly linking by defining an object and then updating that object in other places, invisibly linking the different points of data together. And it's going to be handy because I'm actually not even going to need these anymore, these component inputs. I'm not going to be connecting them up. It's all going to be very invisible. I'm going to be doing this. This might not be the best way to do it, but I just love component objects. So it already sees the parent component object node. When you hover, it sees that there is a component object at the level of login and sign up login page. That's good. So we're going to give it some values, email and password. Have to remember them because they have to be the same everywhere, the same writing, same spelling. So on the component object, I'm also going to put email and password. And then in the login form, I'm going to put another parent component object that will again look for that higher level object, which is found already, and add in here email and password. The email text is going to go into that component. It looks so similar to a component output, and it kind of is in a way, but it's just, it doesn't need to have the noodles connecting it, so it makes things tidier. If you have lots of different strands of information coming out, it can make things much tidier and confine those strands just to one element. Password is going to password. So I'm not doing a set parent component object node to like manually say when it should be set or not. I'm just saying if there's any output here, just make it the value of the parent component object. So what does that actually give us in the end? If I type something, oh no, if I type something in here, and then in here, password, the information is fed into the parent component object, and you can see that it appears as values in that object. And here I have email, password, password. If I go into my log the user in flow, then I also have the same information. So now I can just feed that into here. Email goes to username. Email goes to, no, password goes to password. I don't know, let me put the email in there. Hold on a gosh darn second. Username, password. Oh, because it's login. Okay, so that's good. That's what we want. So these two bits of information go in here. So we've transferred things from here out to here and down into here. So just that component object. We're going to call this login or sign up details. Okay, and then with the sign up form, it's even better because we're going to have lots of noodles in here, but not have to pull them out and have the same 5 noodles going all over the place. So this one is going to be email again, password again, but we also this time have first name and last name. So first name, where are we? Text, first name, text, last name, email is email, and I'm going to put the first password input as the password, and we'll hook up the whole confirm password logic later, but let's just put it as that for now. So that's great, email, password, and etc. So if I switch over and start typing stuff, and automatically my component object gets updated. Now at this level, you can see that it's being displayed, right? First name, last name, but look what happens when I try to take it out. It's not there because I haven't set the components here. So if I set the properties, first name and last name, and you'll see this in a lot of different places in Noodle, that you can have an object that shows data, like the editor knows that there's data, but it's saying you haven't told me that there's an actual output called first name, so I'm not going to let you have that output until you define it. You have to hard code it, or else I'll not let you take it out. Sometimes with certain things you do, like objects that are populated, not objects, records that are populated from a repeater, a record has all of the fields from the database already in it, so you don't have to type them out, but a lot of object components have this caveat that you have to actually type it in. I don't even actually need to type it in here because I'm not going to output it anywhere. I could literally just delete this if I wanted to, and I would still have the same object. It's just an example, but I don't intend on putting this out anywhere, so maybe I'll regret that later because I'll want to put it out somewhere to have an error message or something, but I'm not worried about that right now. So we've got our component object, and if we go into sign user up, and here we're going to disconnect all this stuff because I'm being very clever and using component objects. Now I need to type the properties, because otherwise it looks and it's like, oh no, not a parent component object. Like it looks and it sees, oh look, there's this stuff in a component, there's this stuff in a component object that is my parent, my most neighboring parent, but there are no outputs because I haven't defined them. So I have to define email, password, and you might complain and say, well, why can't this all be automatic? But actually, there's an argument that doing things by hand makes you more methodical, and it makes you more prone to checking things. So there's less chance that you're going to make a mistake actually in the long run, as opposed to just saying, oh, what if I spell something wrong? Well, maybe that's good that you go back and check it and look through your app several times instead of just having it all being done for you and then forget about it. So yeah, I wouldn't really bother complaining about it. So email is email and username, password is password, first name is first name, last name is last name, and so that's all going to be, when I type there, it all appears here. So it's traversed the two kind of levels that it needs to traverse to get here, and that's perfect. I still have my do hooked up, so that's cool. And that is, I think we're good there. Have I forgotten anything? What have I forgotten? I feel like I'm forgetting something. I don't think I am. Cool. So if I do Richard at let's say my private email or something, just in case. Let me do sign up. Nice. Cool. There we go. I'm signed up. So it did the step here. It was successful. So it didn't trigger the failure. It triggered the success, and it navigated me. And then in the dashboard, I see the one, the only, Richard Osborne signed up. Beautiful. So that's and using component objects. So it sometimes seems like this stuff is like a little bit over the top, but look how clean this is compared to if I had, you know, a full login form there and a full sign up form, and then beside each one there was the full sign up process and the full login process, and all the noodles connecting these different values from fields into the logic components. And now we just have this nice, clean, simple login and sign up form. So, and it works very, very well. Oh yeah, and the proof in the pudding was that we would type Richard at digitalbricks.oyo, and that would say that that's okay here. Oh, actually, oh, yeah. Okay, well, no, never mind. I was gonna say it erases the email between switching. Could it conserve the email? Okay, one last thing. Sorry, one last thing. Is that not an Apple? Is that Steve Jobs? One last thing. So if parent component object has an email, why don't we put it recursively? Wow, that's going to be scary. Into the text. So make it the actual default text of that email input. That might sound crazy and it might look really weird, but let's do it for just a bit of fun. If you can't have fun while you develop, what's the point? Email goes to text. So that's probably not going to work. I'm probably being nuts. So this I've typed my email address already. I'm like, oh no, I already have an account. I'll go back there. Yeah. So it transfers the component object information into the field when the switch happens, and so then it maintains the same email. Nice. And if I were to log in, then it would say that's okay because I've got from the parent component object, I've got the right email because the email, although there's two email fields, they're going into the same object. So the value is just in one place and I can use that from that one place. Oh, something went wrong. Oh, I can't remember what my password is, doesn't matter. So cool. Oh, there's actually an error message here as well. Can I use that? Message? Oh yeah. No. Okay. Yeah, you can. Oh, that's cool. Okay, I'm gonna use that. Oh, sorry. Okay. One last thing, I promise. I want to use that error message in here. That would be, I think, a good idea because it's outputting pretty comprehensible, human-readable error messages. So let's use a string format node. I'm going to take the sorry something went wrong. I'm going to take that out. And I'm going to say here, sorry, something went wrong, double point, and then in curly brackets, error message, curly brackets, and then, oops, something went wrong, double point, add in the error message. So now it's something went wrong, invalid username and password. And then we pass that formatted text into the message of the toast, and then, ta-da! So the error from the node comes into. This is what I was talking about last time, that Noodle doesn't have a native error handling system to help the user on the front end see what went wrong. You have to put things in place to transfer the information from the node graph and what's going wrong in the node graph into some sort of front end toast pop-up, whatever it is you want. But that's pretty cool.